Welcome back to Crown Chats. I'm so excited to welcome today's guest. She has starred in the Hallmark classics, A Biltmore Christmas, and Season's Greetings from Cherry Lane. Please join me in welcoming the timeless talent and beauty, Annabelle Borke. Welcome to Crown Chats. Thanks so much for your time today.
Oh, thanks for having me. So excited to talk about Biltmore and Cherry Lane.
And all the classics you got going.
All things Hallmark.
All things. So let's get into your background a little bit. What is it that got you into acting, specifically film and television?
Heavens. So I grew up in Augusta, Georgia, most famous for the Masters golf tournament that just happened. And I did a lot of community theater there. And my parents used to take me to a lot of theater. And so, some of my earliest memories with my parents were going to the theater and seeing Broadway plays. And I just kind of fell in love with how different actors could wear different masks and be different people. And I thought, well, why choose one career when I could be every career over the course of my lifetime?
And how did you find yourself on Hallmark Channel?
So, I came to Los Angeles. I went to USC. I studied acting there. It's kind of a conservatory style program. And from there I've been auditioning and I've always kind of had a love for old movies, the 40s, the 30s even. And so when the audition for Biltmore Christmas came across, it was like absolutely perfect. I obviously love Christmas. Who doesn't love Christmas? But I just thought, what an opportunity to play someone like Katharine Hepburn, who Ava was kind of modeled after. And I just knew exactly who this person was. And so I immediately was like, I've got to get this. And I did. And I was so happy that they kind of saw the potential and saw the reverence I had for Ava in that audition. So that kind of just set me on a path.
A Biltmore Christmas. This is now considered not just a classic Hallmark movie, but has been argued by loyal fans as the greatest ever made. What was your experience on this film like, from the casting process to the character development of Ava, as well as being on location and just your overall experience with the cast and seeing this masterpiece come to life?
Fun. Oh my God, what a fun time. So I auditioned and pretty immediately found out that I got the role. So that was great that they didn't keep us waiting. And then that was December of 2022. And they didn't even, a lot of times with projects, they don't have the full shooting script until like right before production starts. So I didn't get the script at all until January, like a week or two before we shot. So really to prepare for the role, I only just had the 2 audition scenes. A lot of people ask me what the audition scenes were, so I'm happy to share here. It was the first time we're introduced, not in the trailer for His Merry Wife, but to Claude and Ava filming the scene where, Lucy's got the candy striper outfit on and they're acting out a scene and then they yell cut and you kind of see the true dynamic. So that was like a very fun scene to play. That was one of the audition scenes. And then the other one was, of course, the train station scene at the very end. Or I should say maybe 2/3 of the way through. And I really enjoyed particularly the first audition scene because you got a chance to see both Ava, the person, and Ava acting as Rebecca. And so that really gave me a chance to kind of play around with how does Ava act? Who is she when she's playing Rebecca and who is she when she's herself? And so that was just like a really fun process to get to go through. So that was kind of what I modeled my preparation for the role around, was basically those 2 scenes, which I was really lucky those were the 2 scenes because Ava really shows her strength at the train station and really shows her acting chops as Rebecca. So I kind of modeled my character around that. And then in January, we went to the Biltmore for 3 weeks. And it was very immersive. I mean, immediately we took a tour of the Biltmore, which I had already been to many times. I grew up in the South, so I was very familiar with the Biltmore. And let's see. Basically, I didn't meet the other cast members until we kind of did a little table read before we started shooting, and that was the first time any of us had met one another. And it wasn't even the full cast, and so we were all kind of jumping in, playing like a bunch of different roles, and so it was kind of hard to keep straight, like, oh, but he's actually playing that. This isn't. So it was all news to me when I saw the movie. I was like, okay, so that was his part.
And I have to say, the most requested spin-off or sequel I have ever heard requested from fans is, of course, a real full-length version of His Merry Wife. Do you think that there's any chance that this could potentially happen? Or if it was a possibility, would you be on board to make it?
Well, I can't speak to what Hallmark is thinking, but I would certainly love to spend more time with Ava, and I would love to spend more time with the Biltmore. So definitely not opposed to it. And actually, while we were filming, Chris and Colton and I, who played Claude, were kind of filming little scenes. Like, we would go home at night and write, and home, I mean, we would go to the hotel at night and write these little scenes. Like, what do we think His Merry Wife, like, how did they meet? How did Charlie die? How is this, how did they meet? What was the connection? And so we were always just like writing these scenes from His Merry Wife. And we shot a couple. I think we thought we'd have more like downtime. We were like, yeah, in between scenes and takes, we'll have all this time. But it wasn't really like that. We were shooting so much, so we only really got to shoot like a fraction of what we wanted. And so Chris kind of cut together like a little sizzle trailer for His Merry Wife. But yeah, we do have definitely ideas of how the whole story played out. So I'm totally down.
You truly have that timeless Hollywood beauty. What was your character development process in the costuming, hair, makeup, and everything to transform into the fabulously fierce Ava Hayward?
I would definitely say that Keith and the costumes did a lot of the heavy lifting, and so did the hair and makeup team. Everything you saw was such a collaborative effort, and everyone was just bursting with creativity on that set. I think that's something that stood out to me more than almost anything else, was the creativity that being in the Biltmore brought out in people. And, you can't help but you walk into the Biltmore and the whole thing is just a work of art. I mean, you look at the ceilings and the floors and every single detail is, and I mean, to say nothing of the original art on the wall. And so I think we all found that we were just tapping into these reserves of like crazy amounts of creativity. And that just came through so loud and clear in the production design, in the set design, in the hair and makeup and wardrobe. I think all of us were just so inspired during that time that everyone was just firing on all cylinders. But I will say, even before we got to the Biltmore, when we did my costume fitting, which was, a few days before, I walk into the room and I like literally couldn't, is all this for me? Like, I get to just try these on? And Keith was like, no, you get to wear them. And that was just like the best moment ever, was realizing like, this isn't just like a room full of like miscellaneous, camisoles and jeans. This is just like vintage designer, 1940 original pieces. So he, knocked it out of the park from moment one. Even before I even arrived, he just had it. And then the hair and makeup team, the hair took the time because, it was January, it was snowing there. And so my hair was immediately falling the second we would walk outside. So, they had little scarves, they had every contingency possible to keep it from falling, but the hair was definitely the thing that took the time. But yeah, the makeup artists too were so specific with the line curvature of how they would bow their lips, and the curvature of how they would bow the lips in the 1940s, how they would wear their makeup, what the exact curve on the nail would be. They were so specific down to every single detail. I was so impressed by all the teams.
And you found yourself in another period piece with Season's Greetings from Cherry Lane. What was it like to dive into this film franchise or series? Because this is a spin-off or sort of a sequel to the original. The next decade up, so we're moving along in the timeline there. But what was your overall experience in diving into this world?
I loved making both, but we spent a lot more time on Biltmore because on in the Cherry Lane movies, it's three different time periods, and so each time period is shot and then wrapped. So over the course of a 3 week production, we only shot for one of those weeks for 5 days, my time period, and then they did a complete reset and shot modern time, and then a complete reset and did 2003. So I thought it was really cool because it was so immersive. I walked into the set, which was my home, and I just saw the pink walls, and I was like, I'm going to be just fine here. But it was another amazing costume fitting too. I walked into that, and it was all 1950s housewives with the A-line flare and the aprons and the details. And I think in both movies, I was so blown away by the attention to detail. And even, yeah, the makeup artist was saying, okay, the shade of red that these nails come in is not the shade of red that was popular at that time, especially, amongst like a doctor's wife who had money. She would have been getting this brand, which only offered this shade. So, I mean, people were really doing their research to get that look as well. And so, yeah, I mean, it was really fun to step from 1948 to 1951, just move my way up.
Well, you've clearly made your mark and your impression with the Hallmark community. What do you have coming in the future? Any fun details or projects that you can share about?
Well, let's see. Nothing on the horizon for Hallmark yet for this holiday season, but you never know. The 1960s are still untapped territory. But I do have the third installment I'm part of a trilogy of films called the Wicked Trilogy, based on the books of the same name about fae hunters in New Orleans. So those have been super fun to film for Passion Flicks, and we still have the third one to shoot this year. So that's very exciting. Everyone asked if I play a fae. I don't. It was a missed opportunity. I'm just a member of the order who looks like a fae.
And that brings us to our final segment, which I call Little Crown to Crown, which is simply a rapid fire response. I'm going to give you a topic, and you're going to give me the first answer that comes to mind. We'll start something simple. Favorite holiday?
Christmas.
Dream filming location?
Okay. Somewhere tropical, like Hawaii, maybe. I think that final answer.
If you truly could travel to another time period, what would it be?
I think the 1920s would be pretty fun. I don't know. I just think there is such a carefree attitude and such like a melding of everybody. Like I think that, jazz and just like this feeling in the air of a coming together was really happening then. And I think I would like to see what that felt like.
If you could trade places with any of your co-stars for a day to experience their perspective filming, who would it be?
Ooh. Oh, that's fun. Well, let's see. I mean, Corey Cott, who played my husband in Season Screenings from Cherry Lane, has an amazing singing voice. He's like a Broadway star, and I think I would like to know what it was like to be an amazing singer for a day. And Joy as well. Bethany Joy Lenz is an amazing singer. So one of the singers, I think I'd like to know what that felt like.
If you could give fans a piece of Hallmark advice to add a little of that movie magic into their own lives, what would it be?
I would say that the things that have brought the most magic to my life are my little kittens. My baby. We fostered and then foster failed with these little kittens, and they have just brought the most sunshine into my life. So definitely foster a kitten.
And lastly, a favorite charity or organization to give a shout out to that holds a place in your heart.
Definitely, absolutely. In Los Angeles, I'm a part of 2 kitten rescue communities, the Cats Meow Animal Rescue and Kit Crusaders. And yeah, definitely shout out to them because they are doing really great work rescuing animals from the shelters and from euthanasia every day.
And that wraps us up. Thank you so much for being here. I just am truly in awe of you. You are such a powerful presence on screen, and I cannot wait to see what you have coming soon in the future. Therefore, please let everybody know where they can find and follow you to keep up with all things Annabelle.
Follow me on Instagram at AnnaBurB.
And that wraps up another episode of Crown Chats. Thank you so much for joining me. We have so many exciting guests coming in the future, so please like and subscribe to this YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any of the fun. And of course, follow me, Haley, at Crown the Halls on Instagram. And don't forget, we have fun Crown Chats and Crown the Halls merch now available through Dressing Festive. So you can find that at dressingfestive.com in the link in the description of this episode, as well as in my Instagram bio. So until next time, wear your crown. Your crown may tilt, may it never fall, but you are beautiful and you are strong.